stranded among the stars. Lieutenant Sarah Chen had always prided herself on being prepared for anything. 23 years old, with short black hair that never seemed to stay in regulation, and a stubborn streak her instructors had called problematic but useful, she carried enough emergency supplies to survive 2 weeks on any habitable planet. Unfortunately, Kepler 442b was testing the limits of that definition. The crash had been spectacular, even by her standards. One moment she was running a routine cargo delivery to the Proxima mining stations. The next, her ship's navigation system was screaming warnings about gravitational anomalies that shouldn't exist. The SS Endurance had hit Kepler 442b's atmosphere like a skipping stone, leaving a trail of debris across 3 kilometers of rocky terrain before coming to rest in what looked like the galaxy's loneliest valley. Sarah stood on a ridge overlooking her destroyed ship, watching the twin suns of the Kepler system paint the landscape in shades of amber and gold. 3 days had passed since the crash. 3 days since she'd activated her emergency beacon. 3 days of surviving on protein paste and recycled water while waiting for the Terran Shipping Consortium to send a rescue ship. The beacon sat beside her, its red light blinking steadily against the alien sky. Standard protocol said rescue should arrive within 48 hours. Corporate efficiency said it would probably be 72. Sarah's growing anxiety said something was wrong. She'd spent the time exploring her temporary home. Kepler 442b was supposed to be uninhabited, just another rock in space with breathable air and valuable minerals buried deep in its crust. But the more she explored, the more she found evidence that someone had been here before. Strange geometric patterns carved into cliff faces, circular clearings where nothing would grow. Most disturbing of all, the energy readings her portable scanner picked up from deep underground, pulsing in patterns too regular to be natural. "Come on," she muttered, checking her communicator for the 100th time. "Where are you guys?" As if in answer to her question, the sky began to change. High above, the blue atmosphere shimmered like heat waves, and something massive began to emerge from what Sarah realized wasn't empty space at all, but some kind of cloaking field. The ship that revealed itself defied every principle of human engineering she knew. It was enormous, easily 10 times the size of the largest Terran vessels, but it moved through the atmosphere with impossible grace. Its hull seemed to be carved from a single piece of dark crystal covered in flowing patterns that pulsed with soft blue light. Instead of the practical angular design of human ships, this vessel looked organic, like it had grown rather than been built. Sarah's heart hammered against her ribs as the alien ship descended toward her position. This wasn't her rescue. This was first contact, and she was completely alone. The ship settled into the valley with barely a whisper of displaced air, its massive bulk somehow managing not to disturb so much as a pebble on the ground. A section of the crystalline hull began to glow brighter, then dissolved like mist, revealing an opening large enough for a small building. 3 figures emerged, and Sarah felt her worldview shift permanently. They were tall, probably 8 feet in height, with elongated limbs that moved with fluid precision. Their skin had a translucent quality, revealing complex patterns of light that flowed beneath the surface like bioluminescent circuitry. They wore no clothing that Sarah could recognize, but their bodies were adorned with what looked like living jewelry, organic accessories that pulsed in rhythm with their skin. Patterns. The one in the center raised a hand in what might have been a greeting, and when it spoke, the words somehow appeared directly in Sarah's mind, clear as her own thoughts. "Greetings, young traveler. I am Captain Vex High of the vessel Harmony's Echo. We detected your beacon across the void and have come to offer assistance." Sarah's hand moved instinctively toward the emergency plasma pistol at her hip, then stopped. These beings had technology that made human achievements look like stone tools. If they wanted to harm her, she'd already be dead. "You're not from the Terran Shipping Consortium," she said, surprised by how steady her voice sounded. Captain Vex High's companion, slightly shorter with silver patterns instead of blue, made a sound that might have been laughter. "Indeed not. We are Zephyrians. Your people know us only through ancient myths and half-remembered stories. We have been absent from galactic affairs for some time. Absent? Sarah felt like she was falling down a rabbit hole of impossibility. How long is some time? Approximately 12,000 of your years, the third Zephyrian replied. This one's patterns were gold, constantly shifting like liquid metal. We have been observing, learning, waiting for the right moment to return to the community of worlds. Sarah's legs decided sitting down was a good idea. She found a convenient rock and tried to process what she was hearing. 12,000 years. You've been watching us for 12,000 years? Not exclusively, Captain Vex High assured her. We have observed many species across the galaxy, but humans have proven particularly interesting. Interesting how? Your adaptability, the silver-patterned Zephyrian explained. Most species, when faced with the vast emptiness of space, become cautious. They expand slowly, carefully, establishing secure territories before venturing further. Humans threw themselves into the void with nothing but determination and salvaged technology. It was remarkable. Also terrifying, the gold-patterned one added. We watched your species go from primitive atmospheric flight to interstellar travel in less than 2 centuries. Most civilizations take millennia to achieve such progress. Sarah felt a surge of pride despite her circumstances. We're persistent, I'll give us that. But why reveal yourselves now? And why to me? Captain Vex High's pattern shifted to deeper blue. Because, Lieutenant Chen, you have landed on one of our most sacred worlds. This planet contains technology that could revolutionize space travel for every species in the galaxy. The energy readings your scanner detected, those are our ancient star drive systems, still functional after eons of dormancy. Sacred world? Sarah looked around the seemingly empty landscape. But there's nothing here. 2 untrained eyes, perhaps, but you are not untrained, are you? You have been mapping the energy patterns, trying to understand what you discovered. Your curiosity, your refusal to simply wait for rescue while ignoring the mysteries around you. This is why we chose to reveal ourselves. The implications hit Sarah like a physical blow. You caused my crash. You brought me here deliberately. We influenced events, yes, Captain Vex High admitted. A small gravitational adjustment to your navigation systems. Nothing that would cause permanent damage, but enough to ensure you would land here safely. Sarah shot to her feet, anger overriding caution. You could have killed me. That crash could have gone wrong in 100 different ways. But it did not, the silver-patterned Zephyrian said calmly. We have been observing humans for centuries. We know your capabilities, your reflexes, your ability to adapt under pressure. We calculated the probability of your survival at 97.3%. And the other 2.7%? Acceptable risk, the gold-patterned one replied, for what we hope to achieve. Sarah pasted in a tight circle, her mind racing. Which is what exactly? Why go to all this trouble? Captain Vex High gestured toward the mysterious ship. Because we need your help, Lieutenant Chen, and we believe humanity needs ours. Help with what? The Korthak Empire is coming, the silver-patterned Zephyrian said, and even through the mental translation, Sarah could hear the gravity in those words. A militaristic species that views all other life as either slaves or obstacles. They have already consumed 17 civilizations in the outer spiral. Our calculations suggest they will reach human space within 5 of your years. Why haven't you stopped them yourselves? You clearly have the technology. We are few, Captain Vex High explained. Our numbers have dwindled over the millennia. We are wise, yes, and our technology is advanced, but we lack something essential that humans possess in abundance. Which is? Improvisation, creativity under pressure, the ability to find solutions that exist outside established parameters. The gold-patterned Zephyrian's patterns brightened. We think in elegant, efficient patterns. Humans think in chaos and somehow make that chaos work. Sarah stopped pacing and looked at the three aliens. "You want us to help you fight a war?" "We want to help each other survive," Captain Vexhai corrected. "The Korthak will not stop with human space. They will continue until they have consumed everything. But together, combining Zephyrian wisdom with human ingenuity, we might stand a chance." The enormity of the situation settled over Sarah like a heavy blanket. First contact, ancient aliens, an impending invasion, technology beyond her comprehension. A week ago, her biggest worry had been making her delivery schedule. "Assuming I believe all this," she said carefully, "what exactly are you proposing?" "Come with us," Captain Vexhai said. "See our ship, our people. Learn what we know about the coming threat. Then decide if you will. Help us carry a warning to your leaders." Sarah looked at her broken ship, then at the incredible vessel that had emerged from empty space. Her emergency beacon was still blinking, still calling out to a rescue that might never come. The smart thing would be to wait, stick to protocol, trust in human institutions. But Sarah had never been particularly smart in the conventional sense. She was curious, stubborn, and willing to take risks that made her superiors nervous. It was what had gotten her this assignment in the first place. "One question," she said. "If I come with you, will you get me home?" "We will get you to your destination," Captain Vexhai promised, "though you may find that your definition of home has changed by the time we arrive." Sarah picked up her emergency beacon and switched it off. The blinking red light died, leaving only the alien suns to illuminate the ancient landscape. "All right," she said. "Let's see what 12,000 years of wisdom looks like." The journey home reveals hidden truths. The interior of Harmony's Echo defied Sarah's expectations at every turn. She had imagined sterile corridors and incomprehensible technology, but instead found herself walking through spaces that felt more like a living organism than a starship. The walls pulsed with gentle bioluminescence, responding to the presence of the crew members moving through them. The floors gave slightly underfoot, providing perfect traction regardless of her movement. Captain Vexhai led her through a series of chambers that seemed to serve multiple purposes simultaneously. A room might be a navigation center, a meditation space, and a garden all at once, with holographic displays blooming from flower-like structures, while data streams flowed through the air like luminous vines. "Your ship is incredible," Sarah said, running her hand along a wall that hummed pleasantly at her too. "Ouch! How does it work?" "It grows," the silver-patterned Zephyrian explained. Her name, Sarah had learned, was Zethara, and she served as the ship's chief engineer. "We do not build our vessels in the way humans construct theirs, with separate components assembled together. Instead, we cultivate them from seed patterns, allowing the organic technology to develop according to our needs." "Organic technology," Sarah repeated. "You mean it's alive?" "In a sense, yes," Captain Vexhai confirmed. "Though its consciousness is limited to its function, it desires to fly, to protect its crew, to explore the void between stars. It is, you might say, purpose-driven life." They entered what Sarah assumed was the bridge, though it bore no resemblance to the command centers of human ships. Instead of chairs and control panels, there were flowing platforms that adjusted themselves to accommodate the crew members who stepped onto them. Data cascaded through the air in streams of colored light, and the entire forward wall was transparent, providing an unobstructed view of space. The third Zephyrian, Mordan, took his position at what might have been a tactical station. His golden patterns were more active here, pulsing in complex rhythms as he interfaced directly with the ship's systems. "We are departing Kepler 442b, Captain Vexhai announced. "Our destination is the Meridian Station in your Proxima system. That was your intended delivery point, was it not?" Sarah nodded, still trying to process the casual way they seemed to know everything about her mission. "How long will it take?" "In human vessels, approximately 18 days. For us, perhaps 6 hours." 6 hours? Sarah's voice cracked. "That's impossible. The distance alone." "Your understanding of space travel is limited by your technology," Zethara explained gently. You push your ships through space using crude chemical infusion reactions, braveries. They work with space itself, convincing it to rearrange, to bring our destination closer. Sarah felt the ship begin to move, though there was no sensation of acceleration. Through the transparent wall, she watched Kepler 442b shrink away beneath them with impossible speed. Within minutes, they had left the planet's atmosphere, and within an hour, the twin suns were merely bright points of light behind them. "This is why we need each other," Captain Vex High said, settling onto a platform near Sarah. "Your people have achieved remarkable things with limited resources. Our people have vast resources but have become limited in our thinking." "What do you mean?" Morden's golden patterns flickered as he responded. "We think in terms of established patterns, proven solutions, tested methodologies. It makes us efficient but predictable. The Korthak Empire has been studying us for generations. They know how we think, how we fight, how we respond to threats." "But humans," Zethara added, "are chaos personified in the best possible way. You create solutions that should not work, yet somehow do. You adapt faster than any species we have observed. You take impossible situations and make them merely difficult." Sarah thought about that as she watched the stars stream past at impossible speeds. "You're saying we're useful because we're unpredictable?" "We are saying you are essential because you are creative," Captain Vex High corrected. "The Korthak Empire conquers through overwhelming force and rigid strategy. They analyze their enemies, identify weaknesses, and exploit them with mechanical precision. Against such an enemy, conventional wisdom is a liability." "Show her the records," Mordan suggested. The space around Sarah suddenly filled with holographic displays showing star systems, ship movements, and battle formations. She watched in horrified fascination as the Korthak fleet moved through space like a plague, consuming world after world with ruthless efficiency. 17 civilizations, Zethara said quietly, each one more advanced than humanity in terms of raw technology. The Kelrani had energy weapons that could crack planets. The Vorthak possessed shielding technology that made them nearly invulnerable. The Zilnathi could manipulate time itself on a limited scale. What happened to them? The Korthak adapted, Captain Vex High explained. They studied each species, learned their capabilities, developed countermeasures. Superior technology means nothing if your enemy knows exactly how you will use it. Sarah watched the tactical displays with growing unease. "But humans are different because we're, what, crazy?" "Because you improvise," Morden said. "Watch this." The display shifted to show what looked like human ships engaged in battle with unknown aliens. Sarah recognized the vessels as belonging to the Terran Colonial Navy, but the tactics they were using made no sense. Ships were ramming enemy vessels, using debris as improvised weapons, coordinating attacks that seemed to rely more on luck than strategy. "The Battle of Rigel Station," Captain Vex High narrated. Human forces were outnumbered 4-1 by the hegemony fleet. By all tactical calculations, it should have been a massacre. "Instead," Zethara continued, "your Admiral Martinez ordered his ships to dump their cargo containers in the enemy's path and detonate them as proximity mines. Then he had his fighters hide inside asteroid debris and attack from concealment. Finally, he used the station's mining lasers as weapons by redirecting them through improvised mirror arrays. None of which should have worked," Morden added, "but it did, because the hegemony fleet was prepared for conventional naval tactics, not—" He paused, searching for the right concept. "Organized insanity." Sarah couldn't help but smile. Admiral Martinez was famous for that kind of thing. Command always said he was either brilliant or completely insane. "Perhaps both," Captain Vex High suggested, "which brings us to why we need your help." The displays changed again, showing star charts with projected fleet movements. Sarah saw human space clearly marked, with red indicators showing Korthak forces moving inexorably toward their territory. "They will reach your outer colonies in approximately 5 years," Zethara explained. Your military leaders need to be warned, but more than that, they need to understand what they face. The Korthak are not like your previous enemies. They do not seek territory or resources in any conventional sense. They seek to absorb all other forms of life into their collective consciousness. Collective consciousness? They were once individual beings like ourselves, Mordan said, but they surrendered their individuality in exchange for perfect coordination and shared knowledge. Every Korthak ship, every soldier, every weapon is part of a single vast mind that thinks in terms of galactic conquest. Sarah felt a chill run down her spine. How do you fight something like that? We are not entirely certain, Captain Vex-High admitted, but we believe the answer lies in combining our knowledge with human unpredictability. The Korthak collective consciousness is incredibly powerful, but it has a weakness that individual minds do not. Which is, it cannot truly understand chaos, Zathara explained. It can analyze, predict, and counter organized behavior, but genuine randomness confuses it. When faced with actions that serve no logical purpose within its understanding, it hesitates, and in that hesitation, there is opportunity. The ship shuddered slightly, and Mordan's patterns shifted to a deeper gold. We are approaching the edge of your solar system. Shall I engage stealth protocols? Yes, Captain Vex-High confirmed. It would be awkward if your people detected us before Lieutenant Chen has had a chance to prepare them. Sarah watched the familiar sight of Sol growing larger ahead of them. What exactly am I supposed to tell them? Hello, I was rescued by mythical aliens who want to help us fight a war against a collective consciousness that eats civilizations. The truth, Captain Vex-High said simply, though perhaps phrased more diplomatically. We will provide proof, Zathara added. Technological samples, star charts showing Korthak movements, tactical analyses of their previous conquests. Your leaders will believe because they will have to believe. The ship dropped out of whatever impossible faster-than-light travel it had been using, and suddenly they were in normal space, approaching Meridian Station. Sarah could see the familiar bulk of the mining platform, exactly where she had been scheduled to deliver her cargo 4 days ago. There is something else, Mordan said, his patterns now pulsing with what Sarah had learned to recognize as excitement. Something we have not told you about Kepler 442b. The ancient technology you mentioned? It is a beacon, Captain Vex-High explained. One of several we placed throughout the galaxy eons ago. They were designed to activate when a species reached a certain level of technological development and began expanding into deep space. Sarah Saint arrayed at him. You're saying my crash wasn't just a test, it was, what, an interview? A very comprehensive interview, Zathara agreed. The beacon has been monitoring human space travel for the past century, analyzing your methods, your responses to crisis, your ability to adapt and survive. When it determined that humanity had reached the appropriate threshold, it sent a signal to our hidden observation posts. And the gravitational anomaly that brought my ship down? The final test, Mordan said. Could a single human, faced with impossible circumstances, demonstrate the qualities that make your species unique? Could you survive, adapt, explore, and remain curious even when stranded and alone? Sarah felt the weight of that revelation. So this was all planned from the beginning. The general framework, yes, Captain Vex-High admitted. But your specific responses, your questions, your decisions, those were entirely your own, and they confirmed what we had hoped, that humanity is ready to join the greater community of worlds, not as subjects or students, but as partners. The ship was now approaching Meridian Station directly, still somehow invisible to the station's sensors. Sarah could see her corporate shuttle bay, where she should have been 4 days ago. We will dock briefly, Zathara explained, long enough for you to gather whatever personal effects you need and file your mission report, but we hope you will return with us to begin the real work. The real work? Preparing for what is coming, Captain Vex-High said. Training human and Zephyrian forces to work together, developing new tactics that combine our wisdom with your creativity, building an alliance that can stand against the Korthak Empire. Sarah looked out at Meridian Station, at the familiar sight of human civilization going about its daily business, unaware that everything was about to change. She thought about her small cargo run, her routine life, her predictable future. Then she thought about the vast ship around her, about ancient aliens and approaching enemies, about the chance to help save not just humanity, but dozens of other species. "I'll need to talk to my superiors," she said finally. "This is way above my pay grade." "We understand," Captain Vexhai assured her. "But remember, Lieutenant Chen, you are no longer just a cargo pilot. You are humanity's first official contact with an alien species. You are the bridge between our peoples. What you say, how you say it, could determine the fate of both our civilizations." Sarah took a deep breath and stood up straight. No pressure or anything. Morden's golden patterns flickered in what she had learned was Zephyrian amusement. "We have great confidence in you, Sarah Chen. After all, you passed our test with flying colors. Even though I was terrified most of the time." "Especially because you were terrified," Zethara replied. "Fear is wisdom in the face of the unknown. Courage is acting despite that fear. You have shown both in abundance." As Harmony's echo approached Meridian Station with impossible silence, Sarah realized her life had changed forever. She was no longer just a pilot making cargo runs. She was humanity's ambassador to the stars, carrying news that would reshape their understanding of their place in the universe. The beacon on Kepler 442b was still calling, still sending its ancient signal into the void. But now Sarah understood what it was really saying, that humanity was no longer alone in the darkness, and that the greatest adventure in their history was just beginning.